If you want to manage your money as a graduate, like the top 1%, then you have to understand the fundamentals I will share in this video. Because the sudden jump from being a university student who only lives on instant noodle and frozen pizza to a proper paycheck hitting your account every month can be a bit overwhelming. And if you don't have the right system to manage all this new excess cash, then I'm afraid that cash will probably vanish pretty quickly. So in this video, I'm breaking down how I manage my money as a UK graduate, from everything to do with my salary, income progression and spending, all the way to how I budget, invest and save. This is a pretty deep dive to what my finances look like as a junior structural engineer in the UK. So if you are a graduate or about to graduate, I hope this helps you get an insight into how you can manage your own money. And if you're just nosy and want to know what my finances look like, that's also okay, and you're very welcome to watch and learn from this video as well. All right, let's dive in. Just to give you a quick backstory, a few years ago I've graduated with a master's degree in engineering after having spent 5 years at university. Soon after that, I joined an engineering firm on a 2-year graduate scheme. Now, at the time of recording this video, it's now been just a little under a year since I finished the grad scheme and progressed to a permanent position within my company. And back when I joined the grad scheme in September 2022, my starting salary as a graduate engineer at the time was £32,000. And that salary basically kept increasing in small increments. So in my second year of the grad scheme, I was on £34,000. And then when I finished the grad scheme and got promoted to a full-time structural engineering role, I was getting paid just a little under £40,000. Now, let's actually talk about how I split my salary every month. At the moment, my take-home pay is just a little under £2,470 after tax. And just to note here, this is my take-home pay after some tax-free deductions that I already take part of, such as my pension and company share scheme, but I have a section later on in the video that talks about that, so we're going to talk about that later. Now, here's the biggest hack that makes my life 10 times easier when it comes to managing and budgeting my salary every month, and that is automation. Every month after I get paid, I have a system of standing orders that basically moves my money to separate accounts automatically. I personally use Chase for these separate accounts because it just has a really nice feature where you can basically just create multiple savings accounts and you can name them accordingly. So I really like that and I tend to go with it. So basically the way it works is that my salary lands in my main account, which is with HSBC. And then from there's a portion that goes into my spending account, which is my current account with Chase. And then another portion that goes into my savings pot. And I will run you through the numbers very shortly. Also another portion that goes into my investment pot account. And then finally a portion that goes into my sinking funds or annual expenses account. And basically doing it this way means that I don't accidentally overspend a category of money that was supposed to be used somewhere else. And it just keeps things organized. I personally find this approach to be a little bit easier than kind of taking your bank statement account and going through it line by line, which is, to be honest, it's really a good exercise to do anyways, but I'd rather go with the option of kind of just putting a limit on a certain category and just spending in any way I like under that category. Right, now let's break it down with actual numbers. So a while ago, I created a spreadsheet where I basically can categorize my spending to different categories. And I have 4 of them. The first category is essential spending. Some people call it needs. This basically includes my rent, which is £900, utility bills, which is £90. I also have a critical illness cover, which is about £36 a month. And then my groceries come to £120. And then for fuel, I generally spend about £70 to £80 per month. This basically brings my total essential spending to about £1,200 per month, which is about 50% of my take-home pay. Now, the next section is sinking funds. I personally call them annual expenses, but they are the same thing. And this is quite an important section because many people tend to overlook this. We all have some expenses that we tend to spend on an annual basis. This could be something like your car service and MOT, for example, or perhaps a holiday or Christmas or birthday gifts. So instead of waiting for the annual bill to surprise you from nowhere, you can actually break it down into monthly chunks and you can put that chunk away every month. And then when the time comes for you to pay the bill, you don't get surprised by it. So for me personally, I tend to pay things like council tax, car insurance, MOT, holidays and birthdays on an annual basis. And my total sum on a yearly basis for those expenses is roughly around £2,670. And when I break it down over 12 months, it comes out to roughly £224 per month. So basically that's the amount that I transfer automatically the day after payday to my annual expenses pot. And when the time comes for me to pay for those expenses, the money is already sitting there. The next category we've got is wants, or in other words, lifestyle spending. And for me, I personally allocate £525 per month on any non-essential spending. And this basically covers things like subscriptions, which to be honest, I don't really have a lot of them anyways. I've got some basic stuff like a phone bill, a gym membership, and I don't know, a few software ones. And all my subscriptions total to about £66 per month at the moment. And the remaining £459 per month goes towards anything related to my social life and guilt-free spending such as ice cream. Now, onto the fun part, which is doing things that you'll be glad you did in 10, 20 or 30 years from now. So at this stage, I have about £500 of my income left after all the spending allocations I've made. And this is how I split it. Every month, I put £250 in personal savings. And to be honest, I don't really need to put more than that because I already have an emergency fund that I've saved for. So at this stage, it is far better to use the money for investing rather than just keeping it sitting in a savings account. But basically that £250 is just an additional top up if I ever need the money. And then from there, the remaining £250 goes towards something that I call my investment pot. This pot is one of my Chase savings accounts and it basically acts as a holding bay. From there, I basically either invest the money in the stock market, and this is mostly handpicked stocks that I've researched, and some sort of index fund like the S&P 500. And if any of this is new to you, my channel is full of investing videos, so you can just go to my channel and check them out. This is also a good point to say that if you're finding value in this video so far, can I ask you for a very, very small favor? It would mean the world to this small channel if you could click on the subscribe button. And this very quick and easy act on your part will most certainly help this channel make more personal finance and investing videos for you. So thank you very much in advance. Moving on. Now, there is a second type of investing that those investment pot funds tend to go towards. And this is arguably more important than investing in the stock market. And that is investing in my skills. At this stage of my life, I'm currently building an online business that requires me to learn so many skills, which I've been developing over the past year. And this is where those investment pot funds come into play. And this could be in the form of using the funds to grow my business, investing in books, online courses, mentorship, and basically anything that could accelerate my learning. Because in the short term, your ability to get a really high return on any investment you make is much more likely if you invest in yourself and your ability to increase your income level. Now, don't get me wrong, investing in the stock market is also really important, but you are not going to reap the benefit of that route until like 20 or 30 or 40 years from now. In an ideal world, you want to reap some benefits in the short term as well. Right. Now, there's one last additional note about investing, which I briefly touched upon at the start, and that is my pension and company share scheme. Now, hold up. You might be tempted to skip this part, but please just hear what I have to say. If you're a graduate, meaning that there is a good chance you are in your younger years at the moment, it might be very tempting to assume that you don't have to worry about pension at this age. And this is a major mistake. And it's a mistake for many reasons. And one of the most important ones is that investing in your pension requires an extremely important element that makes a massive difference to the outcome you're going to get by the time you want to retire. And that is time. The more time you spend in the market, the much more likely you will see a radical growth by the time you have spent 25, 30 or 40 years investing. This radical growth is also what's known as compound interest. And just to show you how important this point is, just have a look at this graph and see for yourself. Look at the difference between starting to invest at 20 years old and starting at 30 years old. By the time you reach 60 or 70, if you started at 20 years old, you are going to get more than double what the person who started at 30 years old will get. It might not seem like a huge difference to start at 20 in comparison to 30, but it honestly makes a massive difference. Hence why I said, please don't skip this part because it's really important. And so on that note, let me show you my pension contribution. So for my pension, I personally use something called a salary sacrifice, which is pretty much as it sounds. You basically sacrifice a portion of your salary that you can put in your pension before tax and national insurance, which is great news. I contribute 5% of my gross salary, which is about £160 per month into my workplace pension. But here's the beautiful thing about this. My employer doubles my contribution. So for every £160 I put, they put £320, which basically means that nearly £500 per month goes into my pension pot, completely tax-free. And I don't even notice it missing. It's one of those things that you just set and forget. But yeah, Now that I've automated all my budgeting and money management, it really cleared my head to think about future steps. And right now, my short-term financial goals are to reach a £100,000 investment portfolio by the next few years and continue growing my online business and YouTube channel. Earlier, I briefly talked about investing. And so to give you a taste of what it's like to start investing, I have made this video here, where I've basically done an experiment of investing £5 a day for a month. So if you are curious to see the results of that experiment, then be sure to check out this video next. Okay, I'll see you over there.